Hello everyone, I'm so sorry. It was my phone. I've had like laptop dramas and my phone has been a total dick. So basically I'm sitting now on my living room floor next to the router trying desperately to keep some form of connection so I can deliver this for everyone, but I'm hoping this is at least a lot clearer than the audio was on the webinar before. Technology's been utterly shit today. So thanks for jumping over. I'll give everybody a little bit of time to get onto this rather than the webinar, but like Will said, he saw me in a group, liked what I did and liked what I had to offer people, and I wanted to offer something more about confidence rather than the typical mindset stuff, because most of my clients are entrepreneurs and business owners, and I find that a lot of their issues are really just deep-rooted confidence issues rather than, you know, something like actual business issues or money issues or even relationship issues. It's usually confidence that is getting people down. So a little bit of background about me. I was a forensic psychologist for a number of years. Got me really down. I left basically because I was fed up of dealing with horrible people. It didn't do me very well to go home with my baby daughter and be around that and have to bring it all home. I owned a chocolate business for a couple of years and I ended up selling that on as well as some of the recipes. So that was my business knowledge, property investor, various other things. But I found that I work really well with entrepreneurs because the mindset they have is the mindset I've always had. I feel like we're born into it. We almost have this spirit and drive about it, and we can all kind of get each other on a mental level. And the confidence thing has came up time and time again, which is why I'm moving more from business coaching into confidence coaching. I'm not going to be a typical mindset expert. Like, I like to build people up and show them that actually you don't need to procrastinate by buying the next course or the next big thing. You can just be all of you, and that is where, you know, the ultimate freedom really comes from. Yay, hey Gary, thanks for earlier. So one of the main things I come across is comparative mindset. I was talking to Gary about this earlier on. It's rife because obviously we log onto Facebook and we see these people who are doing amazingly well. They're posting pictures of their new car, they're posting pictures of their amazing house, they're on holiday, they're having, you know, the most amazing time, they're feeling epic, they're posting all of their wins on social, and you feel like you're not there yet, so you start to compare yourself with, you know, their life, and if you're not there yet, you start to doubt yourself, and it's like an automatic thing. And what we don't realise, and one of the first things I would say, which is super important for your own mental health, is recognise that what you view online is a perfectly designed avatar by that person. We don't share real life on Facebook, we don't share real life on social media, we share the edited things, we share filtered photographs, we share perfect couple photos, we share, like, you know, our house when it's tidy, we'll move things out of the way before we take a picture of a cup of coffee before we put it on social media. Like, it's not real. So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, especially the way things are moving, like, it's all online, recognise that actually you could be comparing yourself to fiction. And that's something really important to remember for yourself, because once you do remember that, you realise that actually you're probably doing okay. And even if things are really shit, even if you're going through a tough time, remember that everybody else on Facebook, that perfect person with that perfect life, they are also going through shit. So remembering always that you're comparing yourself to a version of somebody that they're happy for you to see is super important. And I was having a conversation about this earlier on today, and entrepreneurs are among the most depressed group of people, and it is because of these actually that real diagnosable mental illnesses that are being caused by social media. It's comparative mindset and it's upper limit problem as well. So upper limit problem is where you are kind of, you're on the verge of something great. So you know fine well that what you have to offer is fucking incredible, right? You know you have a message to give people that they need. You have a duty with the knowledge and the background and the story you've got to deliver it to people. You're kind of on the edge of it, and then you get to that point where you're just about to maybe push forward, and then you do something to sabotage yourself. And it's that safety mechanism, because we're used to not delivering, we're used to not we're used to not succeeding, we're used to failing, we're used to having the doubts thrown upon us, whether it's something we've learned from childhood, or being with a partner, or having, you know, an unsupportive family or something like that. We're used to hearing it, and because that's more familiar than what is on the other side, we sabotage ourselves. It could be through like some sort of, you know, migraines. They tend to pop up a lot when people are really stressed and overwhelmed. Or it could be that you use your children as an excuse not to do something, or you book a holiday at the most inconvenient time when you know it's probably the peak season when you would be doing something. You just kind of sabotage yourself. So recognising the start of that stumble as well, recognising when you're starting to trip up a little bit, and when you might be, you know, trying to talk yourself out of something amazing. So for an example, if you're on a weight loss journey and you are consistently losing weight, and you have a bad day, like stressful day, you're just on the edge of finally reaching that goal body, and this happens quite a lot. You're on the edge of maybe succeeding. You've said you want to lose a stone, you're nearly there. You have one bad day, and that kind of tricks that little mechanism in your head into self-sabotage mode, and you could totally slip up. It's recognising when you're nearly at that stumble, and you can usually see it when you're starting to either crave bad food or making excuses, not going to the gym, not moving as much, you know, taxiing everywhere. I know a few people who do that, and they don't use their legs, they don't move. Like, it's one of those things that is typical when you're starting to do that self-sabotage thing. Hey Ruth. Yeah, I mean, migraines are absolutely horrendous. I get them really, really bad, but I find that when, I was talking about this earlier on as well, meditation massively helped me. And I was talking earlier about the amygdala in your brain, so if you imagine it's like a little thermostat. When you're stressed, it kind of goes up to the red level, and then it comes back down again slowly, and then you get stressed again, it comes straight back up again, so it's in the red. If you don't have time to recover from the last stress, or at least process it, or at least deal with it properly and kind of process, you know, the little regulator kind of gets stuck in this level. So instead of going straight back down to your normal hormone level, it would be like that. And when it gets stuck in the red, that's where the fight or flight happens. And you find a lot of people, especially when it all rests on you, and we're juggling like normal lives. We've got families, we've got relationships, we've got children, we've got, you know, jobs, we've got to keep income, we've got to keep our heads above water. And I find a lot of our kind of people don't really meditate, or at least do it to reset themselves every day. And I was saying, what I usually do is 10 minutes before I go to sleep, I switch a meditation track on, and I close my eyes, and I do box breathing, which Jeff Nemeth taught me, and he's epic. And it just regulates your heartbeat, and you feel more in tune with yourself, and you get all of those negative thoughts out. And if you need to jot it down on paper, by all means do that. That's like another form of meditation to me. But if you do that every day, your levels are going to be much, much better, and your levels are actually going to be more consistent. And that's a much better foundation on which to build a business. Because, you know, if you can't regulate your hormones, and if you're constantly stuck in fight or flight, you're not going to make the best decisions anyway. And that's where that stress is going to burst straight back through if you're not looking after you and your mind as a priority. Anything else going forward is going to be either really messy. Sorry, I've got dust flying around. It's going to be really messy, or it's not going to be long lasting, or anything, you know, substantial. Yeah, I was going to talk more about sharing openly on the webinar. Obviously, I don't have my slides, but how sharing more of your story is actually the most empowering thing you can do. There's a lot of self-doubt, and when I speak to some people, they've got the most incredible stories, and it's that fear of being a little bit vulnerable and a little bit open that knocks people back. And again, that kind of doubt creeps in, but this is going to sound super corny, but it's something I'm mega passionate about. When you're more authentic, and when you actually show people who you really are, like I do in my group, I post pictures of me with barely any makeup on, smoking a cigarette because I'm trying to quit. I'm like, you know, I post real stuff in there. The minute you start to post your real life and your real stories and things that people can relate to, so for example, I used to be 4 stone overweight. I can share my story quite openly with why I got there and how I got there and why I decided to turn it around and how I did that. That's something that people are going to relate to, because there are people out there suffering with that exact thing. There are people out there who are suffering with food addiction, alcohol addiction, gambling addiction, porn addiction, whatever it is. It's all relatable once you start putting stuff out there. And if you're putting an avatar out there, because of social media and because it can be so damaging, if you're putting something fake out there, who are you going to attract? And when you're attracting the wrong audience and the wrong people into your business who don't share your value system, who don't share your beliefs, that's going to be more stressful. You don't want to feel at any point like you're having to walk through mud when you're talking to your clients. There should be the people who suit you. And I promise you, even though it is fucking scary at first, the more 3D you are, the more like completely you, and how like more vulnerable you are really, the more beautiful the return is. And I know that's me sounding mega corny, but it's so true. There is no greater power than being completely normal, like completely yourself. There is nothing more empowering than knowing that who you are online is who you are in real life, because you can't trip up. And I think that's where a lot of the confidence issues come from these days, because people feel like they have to perform, when in actual fact there are people who would relate to the real you. And it's that like worry of almost being rejected, and that's a massive part of the imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to be putting this out there? And that's the question I get a lot. Like, people wonder why they have the right to be a coach, why they have the right to mentor people, why they have the right to have an opinion on other people's stuff. And the thing is, you do, because you have a story and you have a completely unique take on somebody's situation, and your take could be exactly what they need to push themselves to the next level. And it's exactly the same with your network. The more you are yourself, you will attract the right people, and ultimately that's what we all want. We want to have the right tribe of people around with. Yeah, I was talking earlier on about like owning imperfections in your story, and ow, I hope everyone can still see. Hey Scott, yay. About owning imperfections, and I was talking about how when I was younger, I was about 8 years old, I started to actually, 2 seconds, Alice, I think people fear being judged so they don't open up about it, and it should be for you that you open up. Absolutely. And it's strange, like my story of when I started to open up and I started to be more open and honest, it was born out of real trauma. And I know every single person watching this now, and whoever's going to be watching it in the future, I know for a fact that you are and have gone through enough pain up to this point. You've been through enough, and you feel like now is your time to just push through. And my pain came from, started when I was 8. I started to pull out my hair, had a condition called Trichotillomania, where you pull out your hair through frustration or like mental illness. It's basically like, it's a compulsive illness, almost like an addiction. It's meant to be as compulsive as Tourette's syndrome, so something you kind of can't help but do. I suffered with that for a long time, and obviously As a child, it was horrible. Got bullied, ended up completely bald, had to have the rest of my hair cut off, really short hair, and obviously bullied, self-esteem issues started, and that was my formative years when my brain was going, like all the hormones, like through puberty and everything, that was what was going on with me. I was a shell of the person I am now, years ago. I changed schools eventually after a horrible incident, and I just started to recognise that as my knowledge of NLP started to grow, I became more knowledgeable on how to change the brain, and I managed to, obviously I've got hair now, I managed to stop myself from doing it through learning about what the trigger was for me, identifying that, working on myself, discovered meditation, walked the dog at least once a day, like regulated my hormones with good fats in my brain, GP visits, got proper help, and building myself up that way. And obviously that knocked me down to rock bottom, but if I hadn't been through that experience, and if I hadn't shared that experience, I wouldn't have met all of these hundreds of women across the world who have either suffered with the same thing or have little girls who suffer with the same thing. If I hadn't have put my story out there and told people, despite the fact it did knock my confidence at the time, it actually built me into a version of myself where I can help other people, and I get massive gratitude from doing that. But I'm also really, really thankful for my story, and I know that at least one person who's on this or who is going to be watching this in the future will have a story that they haven't shared yet because they feel like they're going to be judged or they feel like they're going to be rejected for it. Yes, 10 people could reject me, but one person could take it, and that's what keeps me going, because I would be that one person cheering on the person who's going to be vulnerable, because that's what I think coaching is all about. It's human first, coach second. Hey Alice, I'm just reading your comment. NLP is amazing. It's helped me so much. Yep. So true. So true. Yeah, you're damn right, Gary. You know a good story about that. I was talking to you earlier on. The last thing I was going to actually say was basically talking about your network. So, yes, share stuff if you're comfortable with it, and, you know, be as open, honest, and as raw as you want to be online. But also pay close attention to who, you know, your circle is, who you're spending most of your time with. I don't remember who said it, but somebody said that your network is your net worth, and I truly believe that. I think that confidence comes from yourself first, and then your inner circle. So if that's family, friends, partner, you know, business associates, people who you meet, it can be quite scary and vulnerable, but you do, every time you go through one of these, like, I call them a stumble, every time you go through one of these big self-doubt stumbles and you feel like maybe you can't get through the next stage, or there could be somebody dragging you down, you've got to shed the dead weight in order to level up. And honestly, 9 times out of 10 when I talk to one of my clients and they're going through some sort of confidence issue, it's either a doubt they've had thrust upon them by somebody else, or they just haven't got the right support to be getting through to the next level whilst working on themselves, but also just like have somebody who they know has their back, like someone who's not going to judge them. So remember that, like, I think it's 4 or 5 people, the 4 or 5 people who you have closest and you spend your most time with, you kind of become them and pick up traits of their personality. And if you're not around, you know, people who you trust, you start to go a little bit inward. And I always say to my clients, own your space. So whoever you're with, feel like you can still own your space. You know how some people become dead codependent in relationships and stuff? Like, always be all of you around the people closest to you. If you can do that, then you can be all of you around a slightly bigger circle, because you feel you're already, you know, open and released almost. And it is very true. Thank you, Alice. 5 people. It's so true though, and I've noticed this as I've moved forward in business and the connections that I've had. I do notice when you start to you know, leave certain people behind, you do tend to level up, and it is just another lesson. I found closing the door on unsupportive friends and opened them. Yeah, 100%. I can't remember who said it. It was one of my friends ages ago. He was talking about, and it's a really weird analogy, and I'm going to look like a total loser for even saying it, but like, if you imagine a monkey swimming in through the tree, and he's got his arms on two branches, he's going to have to let go of one in order to move forward and grab the next branch. And it's really helped me to just remember that actually you do have to let go, and ultimately you're looking after you, and you're only ever going to be with yourself your whole life. You're the only person who's going to spend your whole life with you, so you owe it to yourself to have a really strong network around you and to look after yourself in the core. I was talking about that earlier, Scott, and I was saying, like, if you limit your time with them, I know that can be difficult when it is your family, and I've experienced it before I really fixed my relationship with my mum. I found it very hard to be around her because we are very chalk and cheese. We don't really see eye to eye all the time. However, she is supportive of me, but it was a difficult relationship. I worked on myself a lot, and I started to see that a lot of the problems I saw in her, it was actually my shit that I was holding on to. And I love her more than anything now, but it was the Byron Katie work that really helped me with that. But if your family or even spouse is not supportive of you, you've got to kind of create a mental distance, which is time, working on yourself, meditation, always making sure that you are recovering when you've had a stress response in your head. And when you get that distance, you either start to see clearly whether you can cope with it much longer, or whether it's your own stuff that you've got to work on first. And I find a lot of the time it is a case of walking away, even if it's temporary, because you've got to always look after yourself first and foremost. And if it's a constant, it's going to wear you down. And remember when I was talking about that thermostat in your head, if it's constant doubt, it's going to go straight up to red. And another thing I wanted to touch on really quickly actually was the self-language, like the language that you use yourself. Like, some people say, I'm not good enough, or they might use the word maybe a lot when they're talking. They might use, thank you, Gary. They might use the word, I don't know, uncertain. But let's say, for an example, somebody uses the word maybe in everything they do, even if it's just a passing thing. So, I'll maybe go to the gym tomorrow, or I'll maybe see you later. Even if it's just a habit, every time you say something, that can stick in your head, and that neural pathway that gets formed just from even saying it, even thinking it, gets it really, really strong in your brain, and you start to actually program yourself. So if you say, I might do something, what are you telling yourself? What message are you sending the other person, but yourself as well? Like, you're actually saying, I might not. Essentially, that's what you're saying. If you say, I'm trying to think of a strong example of it. Yeah, there was one lady I watched her speak. It was a hot seat a long time ago, and she was talking, and as she was speaking about a business, she wasn't having a lot of fun, and she was saying the word professional a lot. And as she was saying it, I started to, I watched her body language. She almost winced when she said the word professional, because when we had a conversation afterwards, I said, what does professional mean to you? And she said, black or grey suits, corporate, not swearing, hair tied up in a ponytail, like conventional. For her, basically it meant boring. So as she was talking about this new launch, and she was very excited about it, but there was something that was holding her back, she was using this language that to her suggested that what she was doing was going to be fucking boring anyway. So she was already programming herself to fail, and it is a weird little mechanism that we've got that keeps us stuck, because we use this language every day, and you don't even realise you're saying half of the things that you are until you really shine a light on it, and it is very strange. There's something I used to say, I think it was actually maybe. I used the word maybe or uncertain quite a lot. which is why that was the first thing that came to my head. I used to be very, like, on the fence a lot of the time, and I wasn't very decisive with my language, and once I started to notice it, I started to journal every day, and I started to really shine a light on that being the thing that I wanted to change, and my whole life changed, because I was programming my brain, I was using these words, I was trying my best to push any kind of doubt out of my head, because that's what that's what had been built up in my mind. And my vocabulary did reflect that. Chris, you're absolutely fucking right. Vocabulary is so powerful. I don't think people even realise the language that you use around your kids, around your partner, and especially around yourself. If you could record yourself having a conversation for an hour a day, or have a brain dump and record your voice, don't even think about what you're saying, and try and pick up on a few words that you repeat over and over again. I can guarantee you would be really, really shocked, and when you start to look at the words and break them down to what they could actually mean to you, you can turn something around really, really quickly, and it's always fascinating, and it's good to do it every few months, because you pick up different things, you pick up different energies, and depending on who you're spending time with, you can pick up their language as well. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And one that really does my head in as well is when people say, try to be yourself online. Like they're implying that it's a task or a challenge to just be yourself. So by saying try to be more like you, you're actually implying that it's a difficult thing, or just be yourself. Like, it's almost not enough. Being yourself is fucking everything. And a lot of people use those two phrases around being completely, open and honest and transparent online. And it's no wonder we're kind of turned off by a lot of it, because the language is pretty crap. Yeah. I'm not bad. Yeah, that's very true. It's very, very true. I don't know how long I've been on for. Is there any questions or anything? I don't know whether this thread's working as quickly. Try is another word for uncommitted. It absolutely is. Absolutely is. Sorry, I'm right next to a really squeaky radiator. It's doing me head in. If there's nothing else, I'll stick around on the thread for a little while and answer questions on there. But kind of bottom line is, when you look into comparative mindset and upper limit problem, if you are in any way suffering from either one of those, I'll post one of my systems in this thread below. I've got a cool little, yes, I'll be there on Thursday. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I'll post a couple of my infographics in here on the thread. And the language thing, if you've got a voice recorder, yes, 2 seconds, Will. How do I do this? I think I've already invited you. Will, you should already have an invitation. Two seconds, guys. Does anybody know how I add Will if there's no option for it? Yeah, I've already added you. What if your partner doesn't like your change? I would say that if your change is completely organic to you and your growth, then unfortunately not everybody can grow with you. And I know that sounds really harsh, but we've only got so long, and I wouldn't want to think of anybody as miserable and settling for less, or trying to make themselves, be smaller to fit somebody else's, just to make somebody else comfortable. Oh. I think you can ask to. I think you can ask to join now, Will. I've switched something. No, I was nearly putting a filter on myself there. I don't want to do a Star Wars filter. It's not appropriate. Do you want me to start a new video? I did send you an invitation at the very start. There's no option on Will's name to add him. There is on literally everybody else's. Just Gary and Will, for some reason, I can't add on. Yes. It should be coming on in a moment, unless technology is going to be a shit again. God damn it. Yes.
All right.
Hey! Finally!
It looks like we are having, so I need to be a little bit more creative here.
I know, I've had to do the same. I'm sitting on the floor.
It looks like I'm going to close this and then try and get this to work somehow. So, first of all, I just want to say a huge thank you to Emily, guys, on behalf of everybody that's watching. I know there's loads of you that have been watching. I've been sitting here patiently whittling away, making notes, making questions. I want to say a huge thank you to you, Emily, and every, I don't like looking down on the camera. How can I? That might be better.
No problem at all.
That's going to work. So now I want to say a huge thank you to Emily on behalf of everybody for coming on and being a trooper as well, because it's so easy. Because when we have technical glitches like we did,
yeah,
that it's a pain in the backside. And thank you to everybody who decided to come away from the platform and then get back on this. And look, we make it happen, guys, right? It doesn't matter. We will overcome these small little bumps in the road in order to get to where we want to get to. So there's loads of valuable insights that you've given there, but a couple of notes that I've made about certain things that normally I would have brought up as you were going through.
Yeah, absolutely.
On behalf of everybody else. There's something that you mentioned, so I'm going to sort of recap some of the stuff, so apologies for backtracking to the beginning, but you were saying one of the really powerful things that you do was box breathing. Yes,
it's honestly, I couldn't tell you how to do it now, because every time I'm going to do it, I have to watch a video that Jeff Nemeth made, and he's a good friend of mine. I'll ask him to post a video in the group either today or tomorrow to tell everybody how to do it. But it's cool. I can't remember what it is, but it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. It like regulates your breathing, and you know when you get that upper chest breathing, you know your tightness around here, and you feel that stress, and people's anxiety hits them in different ways. Mine always here for some reason. It's like always my chest. I feel like I can't breathe properly, and it's that it regulates your heartbeat again, and it brings your stress hormones right down. And it's that I try and do that before meditation, you know, like trying to put your hands on your belly and really feeling your stomach like rise up, like get your oxygen in there, and just like start to get into a deep meditation. And I find it helps me sleep better as well. But like I do that every day, no fail, and I find it just really helps. And it's also, once I've ticked that off, it sets that little, you know, reward system off in your brain, and you feel like you've actually done something. And once you've recognized that you've actually done something, it sets that thing off, and the rewards become more addictive. So if I know I've done the breathing and I've done the meditation, you know, the amygdala that I'm always talking about, like regulating that, like I've won for that day, and I've actually looked after myself. And it's something, you know, physical that you can do, just like going to the gym basically, but for your head. It's really worth it.
I think it's so. I'm just going to move the screen across so that I can see if there's any other questions that come up as we're speaking, so I can't see another on my phone. But the first time that I come across like breathing, because we all breathe, right?
Yeah.
The first time I come across breathing, I was amazed because you talk about belly breathing, right?
Yeah.
So they showed an example, and some people might have seen this, because most of us breathe in our chest. If you were to say to most people, right, breathe in, everyone goes, they pop their big chest out, and that's it. But it's the wrong type of breathing, right? Because ultimately you want to be breathing with the diaphragm, which means it's your belly going up and down in order to really fill your lungs. And the thing that blew my mind, and it made sense, was something that I used to do when I used to work in London. Every day at 4 o'clock, I used to get hit the 4 o'clock wall, and I used to leave the office and I used to walk downstairs. And I got in the habit of walking across the road, going to a Tesco's Express, buying a bar of Galaxy, and then walking back to the office. And I used to do this for months and months and months, and obviously it wasn't too good for me. I would eat these big bars of Galaxy, sometimes 2 a day, because I'd eat one walking back and then I'd have one at the office. And then it's only when I realised, because I used to go down there, like I said, walk across the road, come back up, and I felt refreshed. And I was adamant that it was the Galaxy that was giving me this energy, like this chocolate rush. Yeah. And then it was only when I actually realised, it was probably about 1.5 years later, as a result of this thing that I was watching, was that it was actually nothing really to do with the food. It was to do with the fact I was just getting more oxygen in me, and it makes sense now when you think about it, because you can live, or whatever it is, what is it, like 3 to 6 weeks without food, typically 3 days without water. But for most people, they can last about 3 minutes without breathing, and just getting that massive burst of oxygen back in makes a massive difference.
Huge.
To what it is that we're doing. So this particular technique, that'd be really cool. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing a video of it.
I'll get Jeff to do a live. He's brilliant. He'll do it for your audience. He's great. Yeah, definitely.
That'd be really, really cool to connect on that front. So that'd be cool. You mentioned comparative confidence.
Sorry, I just totally dropped you.
It's all right. Just frying the phone around.
I know, that was ridiculous.
That's what you were doing with your laptop earlier today, weren't you? That's what you were doing with your laptop. That's why I shouldn't work out.
Don't even talk about my laptop. Honestly, I am going to put it through a wall. I've got to go pick it up from PC World tomorrow. God knows what state it's going to be in. But yeah, I'm literally propped up against a massive dragon's head that I sculpted a few weeks ago. That's how, unorganized I was for this, but I'm sitting here now. So what were you saying? Sorry.
So you mentioned comparative confidence, and I quite often say to people, like, if you want a surefire way to feel shit about yourself, is just to compare yourself to everybody. So what tips? So that I get, that's the logic in don't compare yourself to people, but for the people that are sitting here watching this right now, or watching this at a later date, what advice do you give to people that find themselves constantly comparing, whether it's onto the contoured faces of other girls, or whether it's the photoshopped images, or even if it's just the people that are maybe at different levels of their journey? What do you say to people who find themselves comparing themselves a lot?
Well, it's natural to compare yourself to people, but I find that if you recognize the science of why you do it, it's usually like when you think back to when we were cavemen, we wanted to follow the strong people. And when you think of how things have changed from the time, we would probably, in order to survive, follow the biggest guy who could kill the most, in a month. That would be the person we would want to follow. But now, for some reason, our brains haven't really evolved, but time has, and we've got this new technology, which people's validations now are coming from likes and shares and the size of their groups and what success they've got online. So we'll feel more drawn to the people who get the most attention. So our focus is like tunnel vision. So we'll want to be more like the women who get the most likes on social media. We'll want to be more like the guy who gets the most, sales on his book. We'll want to follow that person. But I always say that remembering that you are enough, and I know that's really corny, like remembering you can't ever be that person. Like, it's not your job to become another person. It's your job and your role to be you. That's why you're here. You were born for a reason. And there's nothing more empowering than owning who you are. Just as they are owning who they are, like these people on the, the people who you follow, the journeys who you might admire them for whatever reason, but there will be just as many people who will admire you when you start being more authentically yourself online. And it is really scary, and it's just having that initial confidence boost to go and do it. And that's why I always say to have a small circle. You start small, you start to share something vulnerable in your circle, and then you do feel more comfortable to share more and more and more, and obviously within reason. But I mean, years ago, I would never have shared half the stuff I do in my group, but I'm sharing it now because I feel more comfortable with it. So it's just like, and that's the only way it's ever going to change, you know, this whole online world, if more people are honest. If more people said, I'm having a shit day, we wouldn't feel as pressured to have the perfect life all the time. And same with kids as well. If more mums were honest about how difficult it is to, you know, get them to bed on time and all the rest of it, then you wouldn't feel pressured to be more like these mums who release these books, you know, these celebrity mums who have their hair perfect and look amazing. Like, it's all fiction, and remembering that, super, super important.
I quite often say to, like, obviously you're the confidence expert for sure, and I've got massive admiration for what it is that you do and the work that you do.
Mm-hmm.
But when people talk to me about confidence, I say the biggest misconception that I think people have with confidence is people don't get confidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something you just get. For me, confidence is something that's built.
Yes.
And you build it, and you build upon layer upon layer upon layer, and people aren't just confident all of a sudden. And I think that's a really great thing that you've just mentioned there, that people can look at, whether it's online, whether it's in person. If there's something they're going to do that's maybe out of their comfort zone, then to start with a group that they do trust, rather than just saying, right, I've got to go carte blanche out to the world.
Oh God, no.
And then be able to be able to be able to build on it from there. So is that something you would typically advise then? Yeah, you start small and then build out.
100%, yeah. I think that's the most gentle way to do it. And like I was saying, when I was younger, I was the most unconfident girl. I was, you know, I lost all my hair when I was 8. I was 4 stone overweight at one point. I had a mastectomy at one point. I've had quite a lot of things that would usually completely take all of my confidence away. But I am, you know, I come back fighting every time. Would I have shared all of that with the world straight away? Absolutely not. I started with my family. I started with, you know, the people who I knew would support me. I started with my best friends. From that, I started a very small support group for women who had, you know, body confidence issues or hair loss through mental or physical illnesses. And that was honestly, I think the first time I opened it, there was 5 women showed up. And then the most recent one I did, there was just under 49 people, like around that kind of number. And it just, like, starting small, I really do think it builds your confidence, but it's also as you see how much your story can help other people, you feel not so much a duty to do it, but you feel like you want to do it to help other people. Like, your story can really help somebody through a shitty time. It really can.
I 100% agree with you, and it is about that, getting to that edge of the comfort zone. I mean, there's constantly, and most people know on here, and if you don't know, I talk about it in my TED talk, that for me personally, I got to the lowest of the lows, and the lowest of the lows not that long ago in the grand scheme of things. It's like, for me, I was ready to commit suicide. You know, I was at that point, which for me is like that's a pretty low place to be. You know, so and to be able to come through that and to be able to do that, and then, like you said, the next thing is that then it's a case of, well, how do you leverage that pain in order for people to then, that are either going through that thing, or to prevent them going through those same things. A big part of what I do with my dad, which again a lot of people know about, is something that then all of a sudden gives you that drive to want to go out and make that difference.
Yeah, definitely, it does. And sharing that as well. Sorry, I'm moving around. My phone was literally about to die, and that's the last thing we need after tonight. Yeah, it's sharing that as well. You don't know who's watching. Like, for you to say that, you were literally on the edge and ready to end it all. Like, you don't know how much that can empower somebody. And there was actually a story a good friend of mine posted not long ago about how much debt he was in when he was pretending he was all flush online. He was in a lot of debt, couldn't pay his council tax, had like a massive bill, considered suicide. And he said from that post he actually had like 4 or 5 guys reach out saying, I think I'm heading in that direction, and your posts just inspired me to change all of that. So it just goes to show, it was a post that not many people would have the balls to post, because you don't want people to think his financial situation's not good, but what he did actually empowered people and forced them to change. It's so true.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've answered this question, but there was a question that did pop up, and it was from Laura that I don't think we got around to answering. Obviously, there's lots coming through, but
Mm-hmm.
Laura asked, how do you deal with the fear of judgment and rejection?
Mm-hmm. I think a part of what I did, Gary posted the link, Byron Katie's The Work is honestly incredible. Like, it really is. If there's one book that I would recommend everybody reads, or at least listen to the audio version, it would be Love and What Is by Byron Katie. It's like massively helpful, but understanding that we judge anyway. So, like I said the other day in one of my posts, you could literally save 1,000 puppies from a burning building, and people will still find a reason to hate you. People will always judge. It's going to happen regardless of how you feel about it. But when you're worrying about putting your own content out there, like we've said, I would say it starts small. So share with, family. Even if you just share with one person, write an anonymous blog post, write some blogs and don't publish them. That's what I used to do, especially about the hair pulling, because it was like, people don't get it. People just thought I was weird at first. Like, that's what I thought. But then you do, you do find your tribe by putting yourself out there. But I would say initially, share it with people who are in the group, people who you vibe with, people who you follow, and start small, but don't ever feel like you just can't, because that's what paralyzes you. And ultimately, the reason you're frustrated is because you want to get it out there. Otherwise, you wouldn't give a shit about what people are going to think. It's because you actually want to put it out there. You want it to be valued, and it will be. Even like I said, 1 person out of 10 finds it helpful, you've won, basically. That's the way I view it.
Cool. So you mentioned the work, so I'm sort of familiar with the work, sort of the 4 steps. So is it true? Can you absolutely know it's true? And then obviously then sort of going through that process. So you found that particularly powerful. What you touched on a few things that you mentioned. Language was really powerful for you. NLP was really powerful for you. So what would you say have been the 3 most powerful things that you've had to build your confidence? Not just online, because I mean, I think everybody can see you're out there. Gary posted an incredible photos of a wonderful pair of your shoes earlier on, your unicorn shoes. You've got a very distinctive look about you. I mean, you're an incredible person, incredibly kind-hearted person. You've got a very distinctive look. So for you, it's not just about how you come across online, but for you, it's like how you show up in life, right? So it's not just about online, it's about how you show up in life, and you deal with that whole side of things. So what would you say are the 3 things that you do or you practice or are a habit of yours to continually build that confidence, or for maybe people that maybe aren't at the level of even if they wanting to wear unicorn shoes or dye in their hair sort of an out there colour, what would you say would be the 3 most important things that they need to do, like, or they should be doing now,
like on the
confidence
daily? I was saying earlier on, like, one of the most important things, and it is in a way kind of selfish because it does make you feel very, very happy, but I always make sure that I do a random act of kindness every day, and I try not to be found out as well. Like, I try and just practice, I try and pay it forward, whether it's paying for the next person's coffee in the queue or giving a homeless person a Greg's card that you can top up in Newcastle. I don't know whether they have them elsewhere, but like, just doing something kind for somebody and not putting it on social media, not expecting anything back. I don't believe in the law of attraction or anything like that, but I do believe that if you pay it forward, it has a massive effect on the world, because the next person could do something kind. You can really pass that on. I do that every day. I always make sure that I'm grateful for something every single day. Sorry to
interrupt before you go on to gratitude. So I had this conversation with actually a client of mine recently about the random acts of kindness. And his point, and it may well be the case for some people on here right now, is to go, well, I get that, but I'm not in the financial position to give someone something. So what sort of things, as examples, would you give people that maybe want to give a random act of kindness, but they're not in the financial position to like you say, whether it's even and I appreciate that everyone's in different financial situations, but what else could those things be that maybe aren't financially
You know, I honestly think making conversations with strangers, because initially they look really shocked by it, but let's say, yeah, I don't know, in a shop and the shop assistant looks miserable, just compliment them on something or ask how they're doing, discuss the weather, just something as simple as smiling. I know it sounds really corny, but smiling at someone on the street, you never know what shit they could be going through, and you smiling at them could make them feel acknowledged. And that's, everybody wants that in life. You know, you don't have to do anything massive or grand. It's just making conversation, being really nice to service people. If you're out and about, have a conversation with the person who serves you your coffee. You know, it's just little things like that. Like every day, it doesn't have to be a financial transaction at all. It's just nice to be nice.
It is incredibly nice. So that's wonderful. Okay, cool. So sorry for interrupting. So you said, so random act of kindness, being grateful for something every day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I try and write 2 or 3 things down that I've been grateful for. Like today, it was super sweet of my mum. She knows for a fact that I really like a certain curry that she makes. And earlier on, I have a key to my mum's house. I went there to do a couple of hours work when I was trying to sort my laptop out, which didn't happen. And I went in our fridge and she'd made me curry and she'd left a little post-it note on with a little love heart on it, and I just thought that was really sweet. So I was really grateful for my mum for just being absolutely lush as usual. My little girl, who is still awake because I can hear her in the background, she's just good as gold, and you know, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I've got the sister I do. You know, it's all these things, like, you've always got something to be grateful for, even if, and I know this sounds really corny, but if all you can do one day is get up and wash the dishes, be grateful that you did that. Start small. Like, it doesn't have to be anything massive. And that really does help. Because I've been there where I've had days where I didn't want to get out of bed. And my thing that I was grateful for was that I actually got dressed out of my pajamas, and that was a win. So I was grateful for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
So, random act of kindness, being grateful, and what would you say one other core thing is for you to be able to build your confidence, that's helped to build your confidence?
It's another thing that's going to sound really, really corny, but it's, you know, when you have those mantras that are really personal to you. A thing that really helped me, and it is probably a derivative of the work, but when I'm faced with something that would usually bother me, like say a kid makes some teenagers make a remark about my hair, or van drivers say something pervy out the window, or I argue.
I get all the time, by the way. I mean, van drivers just constantly making
I can
pervy
quite believe
comments
it. Well,
at me.
honestly,
I can feel you.
what are they like, honestly? Like, or an argument with my mum or dad, like, you know, something that would usually really, really piss me off. I've got this little saying in my head now always. It's just love them anyway. Because regardless, I'll probably never see the guy in the van again. And if I do, I won't know it. You know, I'm not going to curse him in my head. I'm not going to be angry for a second longer that it happened. I'm not going to even think about it anymore. It's over. If my mum does something, you know how people have those little mannerisms or sayings that would usually grind on you. Like my dad, for example, every time he wants a cup of tea, he'll like do this weird groaning noise. Say, "Oh, I'll just go make myself a cup of tea," as if to say, "Will you make me a cup of tea?" It used to get on my nerves, and now when he does it, I just say, "Love him anyway," and then I just think, you know what? It's me dad. I'll love it because I'll miss that one day. You know what I mean? That's like, it's unconditional, and it's also, it just brings a lot of peace to you. And it is a confidence thing, because I think if you hold any anger from previous arguments or things that have happened earlier on in the day, are you working on you? No. You're actually living in the past. And that's not going to help you progress at all. So letting things go instantly through whatever means possible, like, that's my little mantra, and it just helps me let go like that.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, I've never heard it like that. People just have a default answer, just go, right, love them anyway, rather than get irate and piped up. And
but I used to be a very,
even as a fiery Geordie as well. Like, no, love them anyway.
I know. I'm like the most peaceful, spiritual little goth ever. Honestly, I really am.
I love it. So I've been a number of people commenting as we've been speaking. So I just want to see if we can somehow can't see all the comments on here.
I can't see anything coming up either, unfortunately.
Oh, hold on. There are some stuff happening now. No, let me see if I can do it on this somehow without breaking the internet. Let me see. No, let me see if I can do it on this somehow. That's weird. I can hear myself speaking. Right. Here we go. Right, so I'm going to do...
Gary.
Wow, there's a lot of them now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I cannot see any comments.
So, okay, these were some of the earlier ones. Right, yeah, perfect. So it goes in reverse order.
Right, okay.
I can see them now. Da.
Sarah's just asking if I'm going to be speaking with you guys at all at some point. I will be in the future. Next time you're back, I'm sure. We've talked about that. I'll be there on Thursday. If you're going to be there, Sarah, it would be great to meet you.
Yeah, I've been trying to chain down Emily for months and months and months.
I
know. She's a very busy lady. And she's got a lot going on. But we are meeting up on Thursday, and that is on the agenda, which will be really great to have you.
Definitely.
Absolutely, everyone we meet is fighting a battle. I mean, it's a really interesting thing that Sue's put here, which is absolutely everyone we meet is fighting a battle we know nothing about. If it comes to being kind or right, be kind, and you'll be right anyway, which I think is really a nice thing to.
That's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's perfect. It's very well said. Oh,
actually, there's not that many questions. So if anybody else has got any other questions, then feel free to post away. We've probably got a couple more minutes if that's okay with Emily,
yeah.
and then we'll call it an evening. And once again, I just want to say thank you to everybody that did originally get on to work with us on demo, but was willing to be so flexible and jump onto this as a platform. And a massive thank you to Emily for being willing to do that. But a lot of people go, no, it's not working, I'm away. But it just shows.
Honestly, me and technology don't get along very well at all. First thing I'm going to do is invest in a new laptop, though. That's my lesson for the day.
Yeah, life happens that way,
exactly,
right? So,
exactly.
So my I guess I've got one last question to round up for you, and sort of saying this on behalf of maybe some people that are sitting at home right now, and there's something that they want to do in their life, and it might be in terms of their personal life, which might be they want to ask out that guy or that girl on a date, or they want to break up with their partner but they're not sure, or they want to leave their job, or they want to start a business, or whatever it might be in an area of their life that they make that change, but their default answer they're saying to themselves right now is sort of, I don't have the confidence to do it. What would you say to those people? What would be your bit of advice in that respect?
Well, first of all, if the self-talk is saying they don't have the confidence to do it, really look at that, because as we all know, you're only ever one big decision away from changing your life. And yes, breaking up with somebody or asking somebody out could be something that massively changes your life, and it's a permanent change as well. But I would say that if you've got something niggling within you that you really want to act upon, share it with somebody so that it's no longer just within yourself. Discuss it with people who you trust. If it's going to become something that you're going to then act on, prepare for the outcome, what that might be. You know, it could be that you get rejected. It could be that you feel really down and vulnerable for a little while. It could be very, very scary. It could be a massive level up. It could be a financial gamble. It could be, you know, you finally getting to the next level in your business. But always at the root of everything, remember that we only have so much time. So if you want to commit to mediocrity, if that's what your relationship is, if you want to commit to always staying safe, ultimately you're never going to get to where you need to be. You need to be vulnerable. And the confidence will come once you take action, but the confidence and the belief within yourself will be reflected in the people who you love and care about. And also people like in this group and other groups like it, you know, will all get it. Networking with great people will all be there to kind of support you and advise you through it. So just never feel like you're on your own. But look yourself in the mirror, and if you're prepared to do it, love yourself anyway, despite everything. And I know that's super corny, but me and my daughter practice that every day. So yeah, if there is anybody, you know, just do it for you. You're the only person who has your own back your whole life, so just fucking go for it. You still there?
I love that. I love that. So not only is it, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You're breaking up a little bit.
Hello?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit here. Seems to be working out. So I love that. So share. So share it with others. Prepare and love yourself anyway. So regardless of the decision making, you're gonna love yourself anyway. So anyone that's sitting there at home right now and you know that you're going to be making a decision, is share it with a few other people. Prepare and then love yourself anyway. So I think that's a really, really, really good thing. Chris has put his notepad is being abused right now. I've been writing stuff down as well. There's something that Emily just said out that is so powerful. You're only one decision away from changing your life. I mean, how powerful is that, right? A decision you can make in an instant. So you're one decision away from changing your life. What a great thing to understand. So anyone in a position right now that they want to change, it's one decision that you're away from right now. Share, prepare, and love yourself anyway. John, he's a London cab driver, and he's driving around London listening to this right now. He said it's awesome. Emily, so I know you can't really see comments, and Sarah Cross is saying thank you so much. I should try and pass these confidence building tools onto my kiddies who are 10 and 12.
Yeah, definitely start them young.
The truth is that she needs to use them too. So that's cool.
That's very true.
And yeah, loads of knowledge bombs that you've been dropping.
Lovely. I've really enjoyed this. Really have. So, it's been lovely.
Thank you. So, it's amazing how things can work out, and despite technology having its thing, we've still been able to do this, and it's been really successful. Loads of people tune in, and whether they've been here for the whole show, or whether they've been for the part of the show, or whether they've been with us across 2 platforms or not, I just want to say a big thank you to you guys that are watching this, either watching it live or watching it again, and a huge thank you to the wonderful Emily-Rose Alice Knowles. So thank you so much. Big round of applause for Emily, everybody. Everyone's sitting at home right now.
Thank you for having me.
People like partners that are in other rooms going, what the hell are you doing there? Clapping away. But
it's been great. Thank you for having us.
No, absolutely pleasure, and look forward to seeing you on Thursday as well.
Thursday, yes, I'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah, look forward.
Is this still on?
Okay, then. Well, look, thank you. You've certainly given us.
That froze up really badly there. Yes, I can now. Yeah.
All right. I think it's a sign. It's saying right. That's it.
Yeah,
you've had your time. Technology, we've given you your window of an hour and 15 minutes of technology working. So thanks again, and
thank you.
On behalf of everyone else, catch up very soon.
Yeah, everyone take care, and I shall see you on Thursday.
Cool. Take care, guys.
See you later. Bye.